Hello digital artist. Today in this video I am going to show you how we can create a name logo, and I'm going to show you some different ways that we can create letters using the tools in Google Drawing. So I already made some examples over here using the letters in my first name and some of the letters in my last name. So in this artwork we are going to use different tools to use the letters of our name to create a name logo. So in these examples, the tools that I used were just really the regular line tool and the curve tool so that I could make curved lines. So I'm going to show you how we can create this name logo. First, I want to show you Albrecht Dürer. He is a printmaker, and when he signs his artwork, he used the big capital letter A from his first name and the capital letter D underneath the A for his last name. So when he was signing his artwork, he could just scratch in to his printmaking plate this design. So we're going to do kind of something similar. I'm just going to start off with the line tool, and I'm going to work on the letters from my first name. So I'm going to make a nice long straight line to start off my letter J for my first name, and then my letter J comes straight down, but I want to have a curve at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the curve. And when I start to make the curve, I might want to be zoomed in a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit too much. When I start to make the curve, I'm going to start at the bottom of the line, and I'm going to click and I'm going to pull the mouse away. I want to think about what kind of a curve do I want. Do I want a slight curve or a drastic curve? So when I start to make the curve, I'm going to click, move the mouse, click, move the mouse, click, move the mouse, click, and maybe I want it to come up just a little bit more. So that's going to be my line, and I double click to make that curve a line. So you'll notice it's just a curved line, and if I need to adjust it because the curve kind of creates like a shape, I have the binding box so I can always stretch and resize that curve. Then I want to think about the other letters of my name, and I'm going to just keep using the line tool, so I can use the line tool, and if I like that line for the letter E in my name, I can just duplicate it, Control D. And then I can use the select tool to move it around. Maybe I want to make the E how I did in my example. I'm just going to move it down to here. Then I want to make the A in my name. So I'm going to go back to the line tool. And I wanted my A to come diagonally across. Like that. So this is my A. It goes up, diagonally down, and this letter E intersecting across makes my A. Then I'll make one more line coming up. And that can be my N. My name is J, E, the A. I have a double N and another A, so I don't have to make another letter of them. So now that I have all of these letters, I can just select them, and I can change the color of my line. Maybe I want it to be white, and I can change the thickness of my line so that all of my design is nice and bold. So I might want to make it a little bit more bold. There we go. So this is an example of a name logo. Maybe you don't like working with the line tool. I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to show you how we can do it with the text. So I'm going to take that and move it to the side, out of my work area. And I'm going to go in with the text tool. So I'm going to choose the text box, and I'm going to make each letter its own text box. So I'm going to make the letter J, and I'm going to make it nice and big. I can type in the font, so maybe I'll choose 200. Make a new text box. I'll choose the same size font, 200, and I'll make the next letter. Then I'll make a new text box, type in the next letter. If letters are repeating in your name, you don't have to make copies of each letter. So my name has 2 A's and 2 N's, so I'm only going to make one of each letter. So I'll make one last text box for the N in my name. I'll make the size 200. So now I have all of these letters. Now what I can do is I can use the moving tool, the select tool, and I can start to put them together to make a new design. So I'm going to play with the movement of these letters by selecting it with the select tool, and I can use these lines to decide how I want to place my letters. So I can decide how I want to place them in my design, and if I need to kind of fine tune it, Then I can bring over this last one. And move them until I am satisfied with the design. Oops. So maybe I don't like the font. I could try choosing a different font. Arial is kind of a very simple, plain font, but maybe I want to change all of these letters to a different font. So I could try that too, changing all of the fonts from that to something else, like maybe the Impact font. Because that's a pretty bold font. So that's something you might want to try to do also. So I'll move all of my letters and change the font to something else so that I can try and tweak my design. Or maybe I want to make one letter larger than the rest of them. Maybe that's going to be what makes my design really stand out. So you just want to kind of play with the fonts, putting them together to make a name logo. Personally, I like using the line tool because I feel like I have more control over the design. So it comes up with kind of a more abstract design. Once I think that looks really good all together, I'll just select them. I need to make sure they're all selected and do arrange as a group so that way I can just move them and they stay all together. Oops. So I want to zoom out so I can move those out of my area so I can keep working because I want to show you some different tools that you can use too. So while you're working, if you're using the line tool, I'm going to do like how I did my last name because I actually used the arch from the shapes tool. So I'm going to start off making the letter D. And the D, we know it has that curve, so I'm going to come over to shapes and I'm going to choose the arc. So I'm going to come in and choose this shape, the arc. When I go to draw the arc, it looks like this. It looks like a curved quarter of a circle. When you look in and you zoom in on that circle, there are these yellow diamonds. I can take the yellow diamond and I can actually bring it around and make it a half circle. Then I can bring that over to my line. You can make this for the letter C, for the letter D, for letters that have curves, the letter P, R, even a lowercase e if you wanted to make a lowercase e using a curve. You can use these yellow diamonds really to bring the line around from the arch to make it a whole curve. So that's my D. Then I want to make the letter R because my last name has the letter R in it. I'm actually just going to duplicate that, match it back up, and because I want to try and recreate that design I already made, I'm going to just resize it. You could use this even to make the letter B. Like that. And if you need to resize it, you just use the binding box, those anchor squares, like that. Then I'll go back into the line tool, and I'll make a diagonal line for my R. Then I'll go back to the line tool, and I can make more lines for the E in my last name. Another line for the E, and I can try and like stop and make all of these points meeting. So that is something that I might want to do is go back in and use the select tool to try and make these points come together. There we go, and they connected. So now I want to talk about how you can make the letter S because I know that that's a pretty popular letter. So you have some different choices. You can use that curve, like this one, arch shape to make the letter S, like that, and duplicating it, and then flipping it over, and making a letter S like this. So this makes a letter S in a simple way, but maybe you don't like that. You could use the scribble tool to draw really slow. So clicking, moving the mouse in a slow and deliberate way, like that. So I move it really slow, and then when I let go, it kind of smooths out the line. And if you make the line thicker, it'll help smooth it out even more. So this could be a way to draw some of these really curvy letters. Or if you really need to, you could do a combination of the line and the text box. So I'll use the letter S for my example. The letter S is a really curvy line, so maybe I need to use a font. I can choose a different font and then bring that letter over into my design. And if I need to make the letter bigger, like 400, then I can bring that over to my design, or I can bring my design over to the letter. So maybe I'll bring my, oops, I didn't select all of my design. Like that, I can bring that over to my letter. Like that. Then if I really want to, I can make my line way thicker. So that way that S, really comes in, but that is the border for the S, so I might need to delete that. And now I can arrange it as a group. So now all of these shapes, when I have them, they stay together. So this could be another way, using a combination of the line, the shape, and the letters. So I hope that you have fun creating a name logo.